Want to follow us on social media? Like the What Do We Know Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at WDWKpodcast. Email us at wdwkpodcast@gmail.com or find us at our home on the interwebs, wdwkpodcast.com.
Why is there a guy getting molested by rabbits?
Sort of like jet lag without moving.
They look really short.
So are they mutant rabbits?
Yeah, something like that.
Or that.
Or exactly that.
This is the politically correct way to say something. This is reality.
Sounds good.
I like it so far.
Yeah. You guys are no fun.
Whenever you want to start the show, that's fine.
Wait, we're doing a show? Hello, everybody. This is Jeff.
And I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike, and this is What Do We Know?
Do you see the Google Watch?
I saw multiple watches. Like the Samsung watch, the iPhone
not Google Watch, the iPhone watch.
Yeah.
iWatch, yeah. You know what? And I'm glad you brought this up. I was actually wanting to bring this up too. I have never in my life worn a watch, and I don't want to start wearing one. Like, all right, so here's my thing on watches, right?
Okay.
I have always thought about buying like a really nice watch to have as kind of an accessory for like suit and tie.
Right.
But I have no need for a watch because I have a cell phone. So as far as just like out and about, or if I'm at work or something like that, like it's just one more thing that I don't want to have on my person. And for an iWatch, like I feel like I would break it like the first week I have it, number one. And number two, it doesn't do anything my phone won't do that's like really in my... I wear button-up shirts all the time, so my phone is always right in my front pocket, like within a second's reach.
And see, that's the thing.
How do you know
for
it's a
me.
second if you don't wear a watch?
Because, well done. I could have had my phone.
Where's your watch? Where's your phone at again?
That
Thought it was in that front pocket all the time, Mike. I didn't see nothing coming out right there.
Really bad audio podcasting for me to show you guys how I would grab. But imagine I had a button-up shirt on, audio listeners, and I literally just took my racket, reached right in my pocket, pulled it out,
which he didn't,
like Billy the Kid, revolver. That was me with my iPhone.
But I'm in the medical industry, so I have to wear a watch all the time, and I feel naked because my watch is broken right now, and I'm holding up my
Put some
wrist.
clothes on.
I know. No, but my watch, I broke the band on it the other day, so I don't have it right now, and I felt naked the last couple of days at work. But I need it because I can't just sit there and like do what I need to do and still pull out a phone and like keep time on things. I need to actually like be able to have this hand free, or I even just turn my arm in a certain way and I'll take a pulse looking at my watch all with the same hand. So I'm in a different boat. Like I need it for my job. And
Right.
I have an expensive watch and was very mad when my parents bought it for me for a birthday gift a couple of years ago. It's a really nice watch. I really like it, but I break watches all the time. So I like to buy these cheap-ass watches that I can get. Like, I actually have one next to me that just needs a battery. This watch sitting right here that I'm showing you guys, it looks nice. It was $20 at a gas station. Like,
All right.
or those guys who sell them on the street. I buy those ones because I've broken so many watches. And this super expensive watch of mine, and I'm talking like $300 super expensive, really nice. But I've taken it to the shop at least 6 times since I've owned it and spent that much money in repairs for it because I've broken it many times as well. But it needs to be repaired because it's
Right.
expensive.
And I think this is the reason why I think the iWatch is not going to be great, is I haven't heard that it's waterproof, and I haven't heard that it charges for like several days. So I think it's just going to be one of
I never
those
thought about the battery life
really
of one of
cruddy
those watches.
products like, oh, I have a watch, but the battery's already dead because it only lasts 6 hours.
So you'll have to like plug in your watch and your phone every night when you go to sleep. That's
And
weird.
even more annoying is if it's not waterproof, it's useless to me. Because I have fancy watches too that has leather straps. I never wear them because if you sweat a lot, then your leather band smells really bad after a while. And two, you can't wash the dishes or do most stuff without like wrecking the watch.
So I have the Samsung Galaxy S5, the S5 Sport version, and it is the waterproof, indestructible phone. And one of the guys at my fire station has the exact same phone, and when he bought it, he said he asked the guy at the sales associate, and he goes, "So this is actually waterproof?" And the sales associate goes, "Yeah, but if I was you, I wouldn't put it in water." Like, that's exactly what he said. So I don't know if waterproof really means anything.
Well, I mean, like water resistant, but like I have a waterproof camera, but it's only up to like 10 feet underwater before they won't guarantee the seal.
Oh, it's probably based on the pressure, I would assume.
Yeah. Right. So maybe the same thing with waterproof phones. Like you could spill things on it, but having to actually
sure those iPhone watches aren't like waterproof or water resistant in some way.
I haven't heard anything about it.
I was going to say, I haven't really looked too much into it, but
I don't have an iPhone, so I will never look into that. But
well, and I always think, why aren't things waterproof? Like, I think all phones should be waterproof. All watches, like this one, I actually had to go out specially to find a water-resistant watch. This one's up to 10 bars. But like a lot of the watches I was looking for in the $50 to $100 range, they weren't waterproof, and it just like boggles my mind.
Yeah, I will agree with you in the fact that I pretty much thought all watches were water resistant, at least at this point. Let me see this cheap Timex. Oh, it's an Indiglo. Yeah, water resistant. Water resistant 300 actually. That's what it says. Well, it might say 30, but the hour hand is stuck over that, and since the battery's been dead since Wednesday the 16th, so let's find out which month Wednesday the 16th was, and we'll find out when this watch has been dead since, because this is not my fancy one. This is one that's just been sitting around doing nothing. But this is a Timex for like $20, and it's water resistant. I thought they all were at this point.
Sorry, this is going off topic, but I really hate that kind
water. I hate water.
That kind of band. Doesn't it like pinch your?
I don't like this. I don't like this band, the elastic band, one, too much. No, it doesn't actually. Once it's on, it's fine. Putting it on, yeah, it does pinch me a little. I more prefer the metal ones that have the clasp that goes on. Yeah, like that.
So for the podcast listeners, which is everyone who is not seeing video of this, Jeff is talking, and Mark is saying he does not like the watch bands that are like the solid, like all the way across, and they're kind of like elastic. And Mark, hold up your band. I can't see that to describe it to the listeners, to describe the difference.
It's just a metal clasp band.
Yeah, the metal clasp band. There you go. So we're talking about
our
the
listeners have an imagination, Mike.
Well, I'm trying to paint a picture with words. So the elastic kind of metal watch bands versus the clasp ones.
So obviously, Mike, you don't like either because you hate watches.
I don't ever want to wear a watch. I shouldn't say ever. Like, I've considered buying watches before, like really nice kind of higher end watches. I've always thought about buying one to go with suits, but I don't wear suits all that often, so it's like to spend, $500 to $1,000 or something on a nice watch to go with a suit. Like, I just can't.
Get a pocket watch.
Can't do it.
Yes. The one that you have to actually wind. All aboard.
That would be a fancy watch.
And again, like when I am wearing a suit, like I have an inner breast pocket that I can put my cell phone in to just look at the time.
So if you want one for a suit, obviously it's just for aesthetic purposes. So why not just get a fake thing that looks fancy that you can wear on your wrist? Because you're not going to, if you only wear it once, you're not going to look at it as a watch anyway. You're still going to, by habit, go to your phone. So why not just get something that looks cool that costs nothing?
A really nice broken watch.
Oh, you could, yeah. Buy a broken Rolex.
It's not a bad idea. Actually, now that you bring that up, I don't know if you can buy a broken Rolex on Craigslist, but I'm sure going to search.
Or be a beast and get a wristwatch band for your iPhone and be like, have you guys seen the new iWatch?
This is like
and
the
then just like
iWatch
it's
27.
Check out my new iWatch. Like it's the whole phone just chilling on your wrist. I mean, that would be kind of fancy.
It'd be awesome.
Well, and here's the thing that I really hate about the iWatch. As far as I can tell, to do most of things on it, you still need to have an iPhone.
Yeah, well, it's just a Bluetooth. It's not an actual watch. It's a Bluetooth connectivity to your actual phone.
So you don't have to pull the phone out of your pocket. You can just look at your wrist and do whatever you want.
It's a conduit.
I would be impressed if they actually made like a Dick Tracy kind of phone where you could basically not have to have a...
That was the ESPN speakerphone or sneaker phone.
Right.
Remember that? Remember the sneaker phone?
I do remember the sneaker phone, actually.
Awesome. That's way off topic. But
is that from Get Smart?
No.
The ESPN sneaker phone was real.
No, it was Sports Illustrated. It wasn't ESPN.
Oh, it could be Sports Illustrated.
It was, when you bought a subscription to their magazine, it was a sneaker. Like it looked like a tennis shoe.
Wasn't it Michael Jordan's or something like that? Or Michael Jordan's like size or an Air Jordan or something like that? That was...
I know it kind of looked like that, but I don't think it had like that branding on it.
Oh.
That would have been expensive.
That's true.
So I think it was just like a generic shoe that you put to the side of your head and dial people.
That's like the basketball phone.
I wish they had an sneaker phone. That would be awesome. I'd buy one of those for sure.
A big shoe.
Especially if you could wear them. And then you could just take them off your foot to put it to your ear to call. No, that would suck.
They should make beer can.
Stink. I don't want that.
Beer can phones. So that...
So you look like an alcoholic?
Well, and then when you get in trouble for drinking in public, be like, no, officer, it's just my phone. I swear.
It's my beer can phone.
It's just my beer can phone. I like it.
These are all good ideas.
We're going to be rich. Quit this podcast now. Let's go market some phones.
Yeah, patent pending on all these.
Yes, of course.
Listeners, don't even think about it.
So... You were saying something about why you ate the phone, Mark, and I think we cut you off.
I think it's...
It's done, okay.
Okay, good.
So, I got a question for you guys. Traffic lights. You know what they mean. Red means stop, green means go, yellow means yield or speed up or whatever you want to do on a yellow light. But we all know what the yellow is supposed to mean.
Generally have a feel for what it is.
What do you do when traffic light you come across a traffic light that's not functioning or it's not on? It's just
four-way stop.
Four-way stop, yeah.
So the fire stations out here in DC, they all have traffic lights in front of them so that they can, like, when the tones go off, they can hit the button and it stops all the traffic. It gives a, safer chance for the ambulances and the fire engines to get out of the station. The problem is most of them, when they're not on a call, they're not just blinking yellow or green, they're off.
Okay.
I keep driving by one every day when I'm leaving work, and though I still can't get used to it, it's been years since I've lived out here because now I'm on I work to my house. I pass one, and I know there's multiple in the city, but because the first time I came out here, I started stopping at these things, and people were like slamming on their brakes and like flying around me because they were like beeping their horn because I'm stopping at this thing thinking it's an out traffic light, but no, it's just the stoplight that they turn off, and when there's a call, then it turns on and turns on to a red light. Is that or is that not confusing? Have you guys ever seen that before in your life?
No.
There's multiple of them out here, and they drive me freaking insane. And I don't understand why laws. I don't even know, because that's I would assume state laws. Traffic laws are state laws, right? Yeah, traffic laws are all state laws. Doesn't it get confusing when laws are different for traffic from state to state? Like right turns on red. Wait, what did you say?
How about Michigan lefts? You can't do that in D.C.
Well, generally speaking...
Michigan lefts are based on the way the road is structured, so sure you can. Michigan left is when you have to go right in order to cross traffic to go end up going left, but that's just a road itself. It's not a...
Well, but traffic laws are different from state to state all the time. Like, look at
Isn't that
when
confusing though? Isn't that
you
like,
drive out of Michigan and you're doing 70,
well,
and
I mean,
go into Ohio and the speed limit's 65 on the same exact road.
but those are all posted, at least.
Right.
U-turns, they're legal in DC. They're illegal in Michigan unless posted that you can do a U-turn. And that gets confusing because what if somebody from DC goes up to Michigan, does a U-turn? I mean, ignorance of the law is not safety from the law, they always say. But am I supposed to learn every traffic law of every state I'm ever going to drive in?
Yes.
Yes, answer yes.
Sorry,
Listeners learn all the traffic laws.
I got Michigan left confused with when you turn left on a red light on a one-way street.
Which is amazingly part of the right turn on red rule.
The Michigan left is when you have like these major like 3 or 4 lane roads on each part. Like there's 4 lanes going east and 4 lanes going west, and then you can't ever like just turn at a stoplight. You have to go through the light and then do like a weird U-turn thing at another intersection to come back and make the turn you wanted to make in the first place instead of just doing it at the intersection.
Is that what the Michigan left is, when you actually do the U-turn? Or is it when you actually turn to the right and loop back around and cross the traffic that you
I
just
think that's
drove on? Because I know what you're talking about as well, Mike.
Everybody has different rules.
Well, and they call the same thing in different... I think it's also called like a New Jersey left or something like that as well. It depends on what state you're in. If it's common there, like they call it the same, like the blah, blah, insert state here left is...
Right, yeah, it's when there's like no left turn at the intersection, and you have to go through the intersection.
And then, but you're saying to
pull
do
onto one of those
U-turn.
weird things like in the median to turn left to come back.
So what's
So you
Make
turn
right turn.
right, and then, well, anyways, we have these
They're
different
dumb.
rules.
That's all.
It'd be better if America just had a consistent road rules.
road rules? Like
Road
that old
rules?
MTV
Remember
show?
that
rules for the rules of the road, like most other countries.
I mean, because it gets extreme. Because there are certain states where right turn on red is not even legal. Blanket, you can't turn right on a red light because it's just illegal. And
Well, not just that, but like down by me, like in Michigan, right turns on reds are legal, but most of the intersections by me have separate either signs or like special like traffic lights that say no right turn on red for no reason. Like they're wide open intersections. You can see who's coming from the left. Why in the world can I not turn right when there's no traffic coming? And like I really think about it when I leave for work incredibly early in the morning. Like I'm leaving my house at like 4:20 in the
there's
morning.
no lights on the road in
There
any
is
direction.
I see 2 cars like my whole way into work, So, and I don't, like that's the specific intersection I'm thinking of, I don't turn on that. I actually go through and go to roundabouts, which we talked about before. But that intersection, I don't see a single car at it. But there's still no right turn on red. Like if I wanted to turn right there, I couldn't turn on red. Why? There's clearly no traffic coming. You have a half-mile visibility where no traffic's coming. Like, what in the world? Why would you tell me I can't turn red?
Or it's just like even those intersections that you're making a left turn and it gives you the green left arrow at the beginning of it, and instead of turning into a blinking red, it turns into a solid red while all the traffic's going through. And sometimes you sit there at those and you're like, it's solid red, but there's nobody on this road right now. Like, but if I go, it's technically illegal. And now with the advent of speed cameras going, or excuse me, the traffic cams going everywhere, you can't even risk it because you're going to get a ticket. Because even if it's, I guess it would still, no matter what, it'd be illegal to do. But I mean, you're not going to do it.
Mark fell over.
He did. He's drunk.
Sorry, that's bad podcast.
Yeah, they couldn't. The viewers couldn't see, but Mark did just fall over.
The viewers could see, but
you are correct. I do have to say that my roommate does something that really annoys both Julia and I because doesn't like to lock the door with the key when he leaves in the morning. So he'll lock the door and then pull the door shut. The problem is,
loud.
Oh my God, you have to slam it like 3 times to get it to actually shut. And he does it every single day. So I'll be woken, if I'm not working on a day, I get woken up out of a dead sleep to gush, gush, because he just slams the door. But then the other thing about it is, he doesn't lock the deadbolt because he has the normal part of the door locked and he thinks that's acceptable. And I don't understand how this house has been broken into before as well.
Right.
Granted, they didn't break in through the door; they broke in through a window. But I mean, when you've already had a house that's been broken into, one in the bad.
Do you live in the ghetto of DC?
We live in a place that 5 years ago I would not have been caught dead in. Yes, it's the one of the gentrified areas that still we're on the very edge of it as well, which is good because we're getting decent rent for DC. I will not say it's decent rent. It's decent rent for DC. But it's not perfect. It's really where we're at is actually kind of like the since I've lived here, it's gentrified even more out, and Mark's like looking all sexy again.
Nice.
For our podcast listeners,
Yes,
Chuck
for our
really is
podcast
into
listeners.
me. He has a girlfriend, I have a wife, but he's really into me.
Mark's like he decided to lay down in bed with his laptop, so he's just like a bed of pillows behind him while he's doing this. But it's expanded, it's gentrified out a little bit more, so it's actually expanding a little bit. So we're no longer on just the very edge of it, but about 5 blocks walking, which takes like 5 minutes to walk, is a not so good neighborhood to say the least. So yeah, we kind of do live in a little edge of the ghetto out here. But I mean, nothing I'm not used to from.
That was your situation for a long time too, right, Mike? Like your house in Flint?
Yeah. Like before we moved, it was definitely sort of the ghetto was creeping towards us. And actually, since we've moved, I know there was like a murder like a street over from us. Like it's really right there now. So
You're like the opposite situation. I'm in an area where it's gentrifying outwards. You're in an area where it was ghettoifying outwards.
right, exactly. Yeah, we got out, pretty much at the right time. Well,
You still own it though, right?
What's that?
You still own the house, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I kind of use that loosely because there's no way I could sell it for what I bought it for. But we've been pretty fortunate with renters. We've had the same people in there for, I don't know, a year and a half now or something like that. And they always pay their rent. They don't complain about stuff all the time. So we're pretty lucky that way.
Do you have to go over there and like repair stuff very often, or
Almost never.
nice?
So yeah, it could be a lot worse for sure. Of course, I haven't been into the house now in a year and a half, so it could be completely destroyed.
Could be,
I guess. But
are you renting it out at least for more than mortgage, or
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
If you're renting it out if you're renting it out for just mortgage, yeah, that'd be a big concern. But at least if you're making a little profit, if the things do get destroyed, you can kind of cover it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, well, and the biggest part was we bought the house I'm in now, and I think we closed on it in July, and it was a foreclosure. We had to make certain things up to code before we could even move in. So I had a lot of work I had to do to it. I would go to work, and then as soon as I would leave work, I would stop here and work until I either felt like I was at a good stopping point and I could drive back home to Flint, or I would work until I was just so tired I slept on the floor here, and just would go right to work the next day from here.
How much stuff was out of code?
Well, I mean, there was no, as far as out of code goes, there was no appliances, there was no, water softener, and the water here is almost unusable if you don't have a water softener. The roof was bad almost to the point of there was no water damage in the attic, but it was amazing that there wasn't. Like the shingles were in bad shape. There were holes in walls in almost every room, so I had to do a lot of like drywall work and stuff like that. Some of the electrical, there was flooding in the basement. I had to rip out some drywall down here and redo a bunch of that. So it was one of those situations where I got off on this talking about the when we finally got this place livable, which was like late August, I think. It took us a while to get it rented out. And so because in the Flint house we didn't want, the pipes to freeze, obviously, with nobody living in there, we had to pay heating bills on the Flint house while it sat empty to keep it up to a temperature that the pipes wouldn't freeze, which that cost a lot of money for it to just sit empty, So just having the renters in there saves us a ton of money. Even if we were just making the mortgage payment, it's like that's an electric bill we don't have to pay.
So you really hope your renters, they don't hear this podcast, or they're like, well, we're actually saving you money by being in there.
Well, if they hear it, they can move out and we'll get somebody else. That's all.
So back to a previous conversation, your roof, not your roof?
Well, roof, whatever.
I mean, well, what do you actually say?
I probably say roof most of the time.
Okay, you just happen to say roof? Because I assumed that a lot of those saying things differently was based on where you like grew up in a different like dialect of your region, quote unquote, even though it's like an accent thing. But we've already proven that you say coupons different than I do. We grew up in very close areas. I mean,
similar areas. Yeah.
Well, you know what used to really annoy me was our friend JP. He grew up in Michigan, in the same neighborhood, and he would say breakfast. And I have no idea where he picked that up.
Did he really actually say breakfast because he thought it was breakfast, though? I thought he always did that because it was one of those things that he knew kind of ruffled your feathers, so he always just said breakfast.
Well, I mean, did he ever say it correctly around you, or?
I didn't ever really eat breakfast with him, so I don't know. I guess I did. We would get like, go out to, the Coney Islands or whatever and get like breakfast food all the time. And I heard him say breakfast many, many times, but I don't know if he really thinks that breakfast is the way you say it, though. More of it was just maybe an annoyance thing that he just kept going with. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I never really asked him. I don't know.
And like that is like factually wrong. Like, I mean, there's no way you can just say that's just kind of like a regional slang.
That'd be like saying pamphlet. I mean, actually incorrect. Apparently.
Well, I used to not know the correct way to say meme for internet meme because I only read it. So
What you think it was, meme?
Yeah, I said, I assumed that it was like meme or something like that. But I didn't really think, maybe this is meme.
I will tell you, I exactly had the same problem you did with that word, as well as I still don't know how to say it correctly because I hear people say it in multiple different ways, and every group of people, whenever I say it, makes fun of me for something. What is it called in like Halo when you take your gun and smash somebody's face with it?
Oh, melee?
Why not a melee?
Melee?
I mean, which one is it?
I always said melee.
I always said melee, and then I would get made fun of by the people who thought it was melee, and then all of a sudden I said melee, and people were like, "It's a melee, idiot!" And I'm like, I don't know anymore. I mean, you guys always said one. Do you know for sure if it's one or the other? Like, meme is meme.
Well, I know. So I used to call it.
Melee.
I don't know what to call it. Well, I know, like, whenever I play Smash Brothers, I always say melee.
Why would it be melee? I mean, that even sounds wrong because
I think when you turn on the title screen for Smash Brothers. That's what they say.
They actually say melee? Okay, that would make more sense. But, I mean, the spelling of the word, M-E-L-E-E. Why would one E be an A, and then two E's also be an A?
At this stage in your life, you should know the English language almost never makes any sense.
I'd be like melee, or melee, or something like that. Melee, I guess melee and melee would be the same thing, though. Why would one E mean E or two E's mean E, if that was the right way to say? I don't even know. Like, stupid English.
Isn't there a word, mealy, for, like, food that's spelled totally different?
Mealy worm?
I'm pretty sure there is.
Mealy-peed?
I would have to look it up, but I'm almost positive, like, that's a descriptor for food.
It's really mealy. Like, you mean M-E-A-L-Y? It's really mealy.
How dare you guys question me?
This food seems like it's like a meal or something. Really mealy. So have you ever let somebody borrow your car?
Yes. Is this going to be about the time I borrowed your vehicle?
It will not, but I'm sure we can bring that into it. No, so I let my roommate borrow my car the other day because his car, we have street parking here in DC, and I don't know if it was drunk driver or what it was, but there was a hit and run that ended up taking out a bunch of cars on the side of the street, like sideswiped a bunch of them and like took off. Luckily, somebody actually got the license plate and then called in the police, so the person's pretty much footed with the bill or their insurances or whatever for all the damage and stuff that was caused, so it's not an unknown thing anymore. But they ended up totaling his car out, even though it was just structural damage. I guess it just wasn't worth enough money. They were like, screw it, we don't want to fix all this. We're just going to pay out for this car, because it was like an older car. So he asked me if he could borrow my car the other day to drive to the place where the shop that his car was at so he could get all of his stuff out of it and get the title and stuff. So I'm like, sure. So I give him my keys. I'm sitting there watching TV, and he calls me about a half an hour later, and he goes, dude, you ever had a problem in your car when, like, you couldn't get it into gear? And the sad thing is, yes, I've had this problem many, many, many times, and I know exactly what to do to make it work. There's something wrong with my, the wiring harness behind the Mike is trying to hold something up to the screen to prove that he was right in a previous conversation. However, so he tells me, but I've had this problem many times, and I know how to fix it because it's a wiring harness issue where the connection between the brake lights and the actual pushing of the pedal isn't working properly all the time. It gets loose. So when it does that, it won't let you switch it out of gear because it doesn't think the brake is on. So it won't let you pull it out of park. So you have to go like re-clip in the wiring harness because it like kind of like falls out and gets loose. But I never bothered to tell him this. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, what an asshole I am because I let a friend borrow a car, not letting him know, like, he's thinking he broke my car and now doesn't know what to do. And now I'm trying to describe to him over the phone, well, you got to reach up behind the brake pedal and grab onto this wiring harness and, like, shake it in just the right way to make the connection come back. Have you ever experienced anything like that before? Like, or even borrowing somebody's car and had that type of problem? Because I felt like an asshole.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I did borrow a friend's car this one time, and it was a older, what was it, Firebird or not Firebird?
Sunfire.
Sunfire, that's what. Sunfire. And it's had transmission problems before, and then you got
had transmission problems before, and I got a new transmission because of those problems.
Right.
Let that be known.
But anyways, I had to borrow it for a week because I was in Michigan trying to do some interviews, and I hadn't had problems with the car except for maybe the last day before something actually went wrong. The clutch was getting softer. Like when you press it,
so
it was getting softer.
I think it's. Go ahead.
It's like a microphone that stopped working well.
I think what it is, it's funny, your microphone, it's almost like it picks up And as long you kept talking, and it didn't change until somebody else talked, and then it went back to normal.
Then it went back to normal. Yeah, you're right.
So Skype is trying to fade me out.
I think it is. It's trying to fade you out.
Right. I was going to say, I think it's doing the job that Jeff and I normally try to do, and that's get you to stop talking once in a while.
We're apparently not doing that good of a job at it, Mike.
Let's
step up our game.
Failing miserably.
Anyways, go on.
Proceed.
I wonder if it's like a Skype voice cancellation something.
Could be. Either way, go on about the car.
So, anyways, as I'm driving my friend's car, it was the clutch was getting softer and softer to the press. Like I had to press down harder on the clutch.
Manual transmission. Keep in mind to everybody who doesn't realize this at this point.
And one day, it was actually the last day I was going to drive the car. On the way back home, so it was going to be the absolute last time I was going to use the vehicle.
It was a manual transmission, right?
Yes. And
good.
I don't even know how we can talk with this. I gotta get a new mic. Anyways, on the way back, I was pressing down the clutch to shift off. What? What did I?
I don't know. Dude. I don't get it. It's if we need to like keep a low humming going like on our side or something. Like try to talk, Mark.
Okay, so I was pressing on the clutch. The most entertaining. This is going to be the most entertaining, confusing portion of the show.
You know what? We could just pretend we're the guys doing landscaping outside Mark's window.
That's so weird. I don't know what's going on.
I really think something's going on with your microphone. Those special features on your mic are trying to do something when it cancels out to just you. I don't know what the fuck it's trying to do, but it's trying to
unless it thinks like my voice is like background noise.
It's
literally every time it starts trailing you off. When one of us speak, you're fine again. But the trick is for one of us to speak without just totally interrupting you.
Oh.
You're killing leprechauns over there.
This is really...
This is awesome. This is by far our best podcast ever.
Oh, Jesus. Now he's gone. Oh, no, he really is gone.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it hurts.
Oh. It's I don't get it. Like his mic's like, oh no, not again. Like
I hope this makes sense to anybody listening. Like, just in case this makes a final cut of a podcast, every time Mark speaks, his microphone just starts trailing off for some weird reason. And we've determined that every time either Jeff or I starts talking, it fixes itself. So we keep having to kind of try to interrupt Mark without seeming like we're interrupting Mark.
Mike,
just to make his mic come back.
Look at him right now. He's got rabbit ears based on whatever the hell is behind him. It's just not your day, Mark. It's just not your day. And he's wearing a sarcasm t-shirt.
Although, in fairness, this may be our best podcast ever.
Very well could be.
We have to limit Mark's talking.
It's because it's a good one and people will no longer listen after this. Therefore, best podcast ever.
I think it's probably sounding a lot better in your head than it's gonna.
Oh, you're only upset because the joke's on you.
So are we going to continue on this story? I can just interject for only 3 seconds at a time. It's like a game.
Like a game? Could we just question everything he says once every 20 seconds or so?
Are you sure, Mark? Was it really a road? It was a car you were driving.
So obviously, having me saying antidotes for a long time, I'm actually trying to cut myself short, hoping you guys interject. Isn't going to work very well.
But the thing is, Mark, you do have to understand, though, whether this is used or not, you have to understand that was a new transmission within the year.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not saying that it was anybody's fault besides mine, but it was just very bad timing.
It was very well because I didn't even live in Michigan at the time. I let you borrow my car while I was out in D.C. Because it was my spare car that I had back at home because it wasn't worth enough to sell. It was literally on paper for like $800 or something like that. But it was. I know that you weren't normally driving a manual transmission, so I have no idea how good you were with manuals at the time. Right. So in my mind, I'm just like, dude, you just blew my new transmission.
Well, I did drive my sister's. Was it my sister's or my brother's? Saturn, which was a manual for over a year. It wasn't something I was driving regularly before I drove your car, and I give you that. But it's not like I haven't
driving a manual after you destroyed my clutch means that you knew how to drive a manual.
Right.
I drove a manual for over a year. Granted, it was after I blew your transmission, but I mean, it shows that I know what I'm doing.
Well, he didn't want to mess up his brother's.
It was so weird because I pressed down on the clutch when I was on the highway, and as I pressed it, it fell to the floor. There was zero resistance. It went from being a little bit soft to totally broken.
And honestly, I'm trying to remember exactly what it did. When I finally got home, before I donated it to, I don't know, the blind or something like that, which is weird that you can donate cars to the blind, but that's what I did. But you can, huh?
I remember that program. There used to be radio commercials for it.
And I donated my car to that program.
I think it's drive blind people, not the blind people themselves.
I know I couldn't get it into gear as well. And had I had more time, because I lived in Michigan, because I only lived in D.C., well, my parents actually wanted me to get rid of that car because it was just taking up space in their driveway. It would have been a nice second car, though, because I put a little bit of money into it. It was like $400 for the new transmission or something. It wasn't anything too bad for that vehicle. But I bet you the problem actually was a clutch cable probably broke. Everything else is probably fine. The clutch actually probably just wasn't engaging. I bet you that's all it was, but I have no idea. I ended up donating it.
So weird though.
That car was old, and I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. I remember I went to when I drove to Florida from Michigan, and not with you because we took your car, but when I went with Anna, JP's sister, and we went down to visit JP, and I was telling her how my car was dying, and then when I went and picked her up, she's like, "You're in your car and we're driving to Florida," and I was like, "Yeah, it's either gonna make it or it's not, so let's do this." And it was like a champ, man. It made it all the way to and from Florida like it was nothing, but I mean that thing was on its last legs. It got such good gas mileage, though.
Did you make the trip in one day?
Yeah. Oh no, on the way there we did not. On the way home we did.
I made that trip with Matt when he had, what was that, tuberculosis or whatever, that lung disease.
When he had tuberculosis.
It was something. But
when he had Ebola, we decided to take a trip across country together.
I remember I wanted to go down to Florida, and Matt was the only one that could come with me, and I didn't want to make the drive by myself because I said, "Man, I'm not going to be able to stay awake. It would be great if someone could help drive." whatever. So
Matt was like, well, I'm not doing nothing.
Matt wasn't doing anything. So he came with me, and that whole drive down there, he was coughing every 20 seconds. And not like, no, he was coughing his lung out of his body every 20 seconds. I mean, he was like,
on the windshield, like on the dashboard.
And it drove me nuts all the way down there. Matt never volunteered to help drive, so I drove the whole way down by myself. It was much better if I would have drove by myself.
Hello, What Do We Knowers? Mike here. If you like this podcast even a little and would like to help us keep it online, you can do that. It's super easy too. All you have to do is go to WDWKpodcast.com, click on the Amazon search widget in the bottom right-hand corner, use it to buy the stuff you were already going to buy on Amazon, and we get a fraction of the profits. It all helps people. Thanks in advance for supporting us, and thanks for listening.